Well, g'day guys, it's Matt here again, trying something a bit different. This is actually the end of last week, so nearly knock-off time. Spent most of the day just fixing a cultivator, so you can see Dad over there in the background and in the drone footage. He's going on that, just trying to peel up a few more of these rocks in this new country here. So the other guys have knocked off, but yeah, been rock picking here and also burning off, as you can see here. It's just too much grass. It just blocks up the cultivator, and the rock picker especially can't process it. So yeah, we're just trying to burn the clumps, and it's, yeah, as you can see here, it's actually getting rid of a bit. So yeah, hopefully that continues. So this will probably still be happening next week. Well, this week technically. Anyway, it's getting confusing. But the other thing going on here is, yeah, we've got the rocks still going on with the excavator and the dump truck. So that's been going full steam ahead as well. So there's quite a bit happening here at the minute. And yeah, I don't think I said either, but we're at the development block. So probably could tell by the developing that we're doing. We're spraying chickpeas today. So the chickpeas have bounced back really well from early in the season. They were quite waterlogged and sick. Chickpeas don't like wet feet, so yeah, you get a lot of disease and different things if you just have a wet year. So we're actually putting on a fungicide spray at the minute. You can see here the canopy is quite thick, so it can stay moist under there when you get rain, and that promotes a bit of disease and things. So we're putting a fungicide spray on. Also, in a couple of videos ago, I was spraying the linseed, which is just over the other side of the trees. Now it was being sprayed with a grub spray, and I think I even showed some pictures of some grubs. Now those same grubs like chickpeas as well, so we're putting the same spray on to deal with them. I can't actually see any right now, but they are a bit harder to find on chickpeas. But you can see there's pods forming, so it's very exciting to see. So I've got one there, so you pop them open and you can see I've just popped that open. Generally speaking, there's 2 seeds per pod, and they'll fill right out, and that'll fill that whole pod. So that is looking really good. Yeah, so these are the sections you can see that are where the water's run through early on in the season, and it's just obviously very thin. The plant stand's quite poor. But yeah, all of this here we thought was actually quite bad as well to begin with, and you can see little bits of yellow and that, but it's actually recovered quite well and looking very good. Just thought I'd show you guys why we have to spray for grubs. So there's 2 pods there, well 3 pods there, right all next to each other. That one there, that one there, and that one there. You can see a nice grub shaped hole has been bored into it, and they've sucked out all the seeds inside. So just on one plant you can see that 3 of those have been destroyed. So yeah, you can imagine if you had a really bad problem, it doesn't take much to actually lose quite a percentage of your yield. Well guys, we're back at the development block, and as you can probably tell, we're doing rocks again. So we're slowly creeping our way along. Well guys, I think this is the record for the biggest rock. Yeah, plucked that out. Just to compare, I'll actually just put this down and then walk over. It's going well still here. We just get these little pockets where it's just, yeah, real big rock underneath. So I'm just feeling them with the teeth and digging them out. But yeah, it's a bit wild. But no, there still seems to be quite a good bit of dirt. You can see here it's all quite nice and loamy still. I think we'll be right. So you can see another big rock there, and another one here. Well, not much time left in the day, as you can probably see by the windscreen wipers. We've had a shower come through, so wouldn't be that much, but enough just to get a bit sticky. You can see it's sticking on the bucket, and yeah, just where the dump truck's going, it's a bit damp, but just because we're tickling up all the dirt and that, it's not actually becoming too much of a problem. So we're going to keep going, but yeah, if we get too much more, we'll have to pull up, I think. Well, we are back up at the shed. It's wet, so we've had I think maybe 10 mils or so already. But yeah, we got both the headers in the shed here. Just double checking over them and checking that they're ready to go. I don't think there's anything major left to do, but never hurts to triple check. Well guys, we had a bit of a wild night last night. Yeah, quite a bit of wind and rain. So I think we ended up with about 60 odd mils all up. So that's, yeah, a bit over 2 inches. And yeah, we had a bit of, with the wind and the rain, obviously, we've had a bit of the barley has gone down, even more than it already was. So barley's susceptible to that. But yeah, it's a bit too wet to get out and have a really good look, but it's, yeah, looking like it's a fair bit of it's gone down. It just makes it harder to harvest, and it's a bit of a pain, but we'll get through it. It's a lot better that than not having a crop at all to harvest. So just maybe of interest to some, this is a little fan that it's actually on the newer header we have, but not on the original one we have. So that actually sucks the stuff off the rotary screen. So that's where all your air goes through into the radiator and everything. It goes through the rotary screen, which you can see just up there. So you can see this is actually the header that's off. So this is the one we got last year. So it sucks down from the bottom of the rotary screen and down into here, and then that's where the fan mounts, and then it just blows it on the ground. Now, on the original one that we have had from new, might have been 3 or 4 years ago, we were harvesting linseed, and there's a certain little bug that lives in linseed. They're called Rutherglen bugs, and it was really thick and really bad. And because they're eating the linseed, they're full of oil, and yeah, it just gets quite messy. But yeah, so this is the original one. We've actually added a second rotary screen in there just to get more airflow into it. This has got a bigger motor in it than the other one, but it sucks down from underneath there and goes up through underneath the radiator and into the motor. So what happens is all the bugs were getting stuck to that, coming down there, dropping down there, getting sucked back into there, and then going through the engine fan and absolutely plastering everything with bug guts that were full of oil, which then was heating up on the exhaust manifold or anywhere, and we were having some issues with fires. But not only that, it turned like glue, and we hot washed, degreased everything, the motor, and had to pull a good chunk of it all apart just to try and clean it. It was really bad. So massive improvement. We'd love to be able to get one of those fans for this one, but at least we sort of know now what was causing it. So yeah, that's something we're aware of at least, but that was not fun. Well guys, we just sent the drone up and had a bit of a look around. It's not looking great, but so yeah, there's quite a bit of the barley's gone down, as you'll see in the drone footage. Now usually that's just all uniform, smooth. I might even be able to throw up a bit of footage I just took of before it went down, so you get an idea of what it should look like. This is the causeway that we got when the grader was back getting a service. We got the new grader driver to fix up with that rock, and it's worked really well. You can see the two windrows there on either side, so you know where the road is, even when there's a bit of water on there. So that's come up quite well. Well guys, the other thing that's been happening, it's probably a couple of weeks ago now, Dad was head deep into experimenting with the multi-rod holder. So that's got the 7 rods. And yeah, he's done a fair bit of experimenting. You can probably see under there and all sorts, just to see what is possible and how it all sort of works. But yeah, I think, well, what was your main findings?
I was just curious, and yeah, I wanted to try a few things, and so we've really, the purpose of what I've been doing is not to offer up the technical specifications of what we're doing here, because this is Bisalloy and this is hardened steel, and it's they're satin craft rods that are 25 years old and they're rusty and all that. But I was just looking to push the boundaries and see what we can actually achieve. So the only modification I've done to this rusty metal is just put a little scratch pad there in with the grinder, just to start it off. And what I find is when you're on this unprepared metal, the one rod acts like a pilot arc for the other, and they go to and fro as required, or as they find the easier arc, and the whole weld pool creates its own environment, and the slag or the flux of all the rods combine and give you a really good result. Because I was using these satin craft rods that are 25 years old, they're all rusty and there's not good contact, and we are in the 4mm rod holder here, we are finding a bit more heat generation because they're only 3.2s, so the contact or surface area in the rod holder is not as good as what it would be with 4mm. But we're also I took all of this flux off one rod and just put it in with a bunch of 6 and tried that, and there was no noticeable decline in performance or any problem at all. It just ended up as one pool and one weld pool, and no one would have been able to tell that there was one rod that was missing all its flux.
This is also what he was fiddling around with. So you can see there you've got one rod, 2 rods, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you can see obviously the thickness increases. Might be able to flip that up. The thickness increases obviously, and yeah, you can obviously, there's a crack through there because, yeah, like we said, it's bisalloy hardened steel, and yeah, we wasn't preheated or anything. So, but yeah, it's just a good indication of yeah, what it can do.
I also found that it takes about a minute to change your rods in your head, and it takes about a third extra time to burn away the rods than what it does with an individual rod. So your net gain is at least 400%, with at least 400%. It's really practically more than that, but you can count on 400% more efficiency. And that's even allowing for changing one rod at a time versus 7 at a time. So
you sort of worked out a formula, or a rough formula for the amps, knowing that most people probably only have access to maybe 200, 250 amp welder. What was your formula that you sort of worked out?
Well, roughly see, I've got a bunch of fairly new GP rods. Now, this is the first time I've tried with new rods. All the other times experimentation I've done is with old rusty rods. So I'm going to try this and see what happens. But the 3.2s, I think we work on with one rod, it's about 130 amps. And then I find approximately for 3.2s, you add 50 amps per rod. I've now got the welder set up on 420. I was going to start with one at 130, you add 50. I think 420 will go really well, and that's what we're going to try.
Yeah, good. Oh, you might have a bit of a fiddle here. Might grab an old helmet and have a look through the camera too. Well, that's a minute and a half to use up about 10 inches of the rods there. The old man tried it with the GP rods, which is the first time, yeah, just with GPs.
New ones.
With new ones, and I think it seemed to go a bit better. What did you think?
Yeah, it was much more stable, much more easy to use. Yeah, they were obviously better, but not so much as to stop you from using old ones with the multi-head. Like, you could still, if you had some old rods that you want to use up, it'd be an ideal opportunity to do it. But you also need to at least allow 2.5 mil thickness of steel per rod that you put in the head, so that you increase the steel thickness as you increase the amount of rods you put into it. Otherwise, it won't take the heat, and it becomes a thermal lance in no time.
Well, that doesn't look too bad for no preparation. But again, I wouldn't recommend trying to weld hardened steel and bisalloy with GP rods. Well guys, that's the end of another video. Yeah, there hasn't been a lot going on with the bulldozers recently with the weather, a couple of breakdowns, and we're just trying to get everything ready for harvest. So obviously we're pulling resources from the bulldozer side of things a little bit to just make sure everything's ready to go. But yeah, as always, check out Instagram and Facebook. The links are in the description, and we'll catch you in the next one.